For the digital part of this tile project. I'm going to show you a few things. We're going to start first, which I know you all know how to do, is a quick Google search. I am using the Lincoln Memorial as my idea, so I'm going to come over here and kind of scroll down. When you hover over a picture, look at the size of the image. The larger the image that you begin to work with, the better quality you're going to get with your design. So I'm going to select this image down here. And I also want to make sure that my image is opened up as large as I can get it. So I'm going to go to where I can view the original image, expand it fully, and then I'm going to right click just to copy this image. So now that I have an image, I want to take this image and actually put it into Photoshop. So we actually are going to do things a little bit different than we did last year in 7th grade. But I'm going to minimize my image. I'm going to go into Photoshop, which is right on my docking station. If you're working on a PC, you might have to search it under Programs to find Photoshop. And once it's open, you actually can go to File, New. Because you have that image on the clipboard that you've already copied, Photoshop knows the proportions of that image. So all you have to do is type in a name. So I'm just going to put it as Tile Project. Oops. Spell that right, and change my resolution to 300. This I don't need to play with. The height and the width are already determined for me, and when I hit OK, the file size that comes up is going to be proportional to the size of the image I've already copied. Now I can go to Edit, and I can paste that image, and it will fit proportionally to the new file that was created. Well, now that I have a file, I realize it's not a square, so I need to make a square, and I'm going to use the crop tool over here in the left toolbar. Select that tool. If it doesn't come up right away, you may have to go in, if one of these other options are showing, and select the crop. Then I'm going to go to where the width and the height are, and make sure that I put in, and this one already has it set, 4 inches for the width and 4 inches for the height. Double check that your resolution is at 300. Okay? Then you can come over to the image and create your box that's going to be proportional and kind of move that around to find the best part of your image. As I come over here, I kind of center where I want it, and I will simply hit return. And now I have a 4 by 4 inch image that I can work with. Using this as the memorial, I see that it's in black and white. You can work with color, images, and do a variety of different things. I'm going to show you how to come over to your layer palette. If your layer palette isn't showing, you need to kind of look through the side of your different options here, and I'm going to choose the one that says layers so that I can actually see. I have the background white layer and then that layer 1. I want to make a brand new layer, so right down here next to the trash can it says create a new layer. Click on that, and here's my layer 2. So layer 1 is the memorial, and I like to rename my layers. If you just click in that text box, I can just put down Lincoln in here. And now my layer 2, I'm going to put a color in there. I'm just going to put the color red because we have the red tiles to work with. I'm going to come all the way over here to the left where my color palette is. If I click on this little square on the top layer, that's my foreground color. This would be background. I'm not going to worry about that. And then I can come into this area and start looking around to select a color red that I want to work with. So simply choose an area, hit OK, and then I want to take a paint bucket tool. Every tool will tell you what it is if you're patient and hover over that tool. So I'm going to click on the paint bucket to select it. You may have the gradient tool showing. Again, click and hold or right click depending upon the computer you're on. Take that paint bucket, and I'm going to drop that color red over the whole thing. Now clearly we need to adjust this. When I come back here to my layer palette, this little up and down arrow allows you to do some unique things. If you click on it, you will see different areas that will come through. If I want to overlay the red, that's what I get. So I can actually take that color and overlay it right on top of my image so you can see the image coming through. Some of you may remember that there's this opacity level up here. When this layer is highlighted, I can click on the opacity and I can make that a lighter color by dragging the opacity down or up. If I don't want to do that, I can go back into this and experiment by trying some different options, trying to see what happens when you color burn. You get some different effects. So your job is to really kind of play around with what idea you might want that to do. Now clearly some of them are not going to be very visually exciting and won't work as well as others might. So that's your job to play with. Okay, I'm going to leave it on the lighten layer for now. So this gives me my first general idea here. The next thing I want to do to enhance my tile is add a quote that I want to incorporate. So I'm going to use a text box. I'm going to click on the text box, and when I click one time up on the top here, I now have the option to start typing. All of your font styles, the size of the font, the color choices that you choose are all up here along the top menu. So I'm going to select a different color, and I'm just going to go with a little bit of a gray or a darker kind of a reddish black here, just to see how that's going to look. I'm going to click OK, and then I can find a quote. Now I have one saved because I knew I wouldn't remember it by heart. So I'm going to just copy and paste. If this will work, I'm going to copy my text. I'm going to minimize that out, come back into Photoshop, and I'm going to see if I can paste that in there. Okay, clearly that's too big, so I want to just make sure I've highlighted everything here in my text. And my point size here, I can drop this down. I need to get all of it. So I have to work a little bit to select the entire quote. And you may have to play around with that a little bit as well. Some of the copying and pasting, if you type directly into it, you won't have these problems that I'm having right now, but trying to highlight and select the whole font. The other thing you can do is go to the Move tool and kind of move it around back to the Text tool, and hopefully you remember that Move tool from before and our last year when we worked with this program. Okay, now that I'm in the Text tool, I can also do a return and figure out what I want that text to look like. So right now I'm giving you just the basic ideas of how to work and manipulate some of these tools. Photoshop is a great program where you can do so many different things with it. Where's my text back here? Clicking and highlighting, going into the text here, making sure that it's left justified or center justified, very similar to the Word programs here. I'm going to go back in and get my color a little bit brighter to come off on that red. I actually think I'm just going to go into white so that it really shows up on that red. Those are the things that you need to think about. The contrast of the color. If you're putting in words, what is that text going to look like that you can play around with. I'm going to go back to my Move tool, move this over into my design, right? And paying attention to the overall work of art. How does it work here? Does it look successful in terms of the designs? Here's my layer of text, so you can see that coming up. Here's that red layer, right? If you remember, we turn off the eye, changes the whole design. So we want to pull some red into this, knowing that we have that red tile. So just to kind of follow up here, the idea of bringing in an image, playing around with a color field to drop over it here, experimenting with those different layers, and then looking at, the possibility of incorporating text if you choose to use text into your design. So this just gives you a few different ideas of things you can do. What's really important is paying attention to what makes a good design overall. Looking at the relationship of your space from the negative space in the background to the text in here, and using that as your design elements. So I will probably be doing another one to show you another example, but this gives you just some basics to get you started. I hope you enjoy, and I look forward to seeing some of your designs.